The battlefield lay in ruins, covered with skulls and ashes. A broken arrow stuck in the pile of white bones, echoing the sound of death. Among the shattered skulls, a warrior's body lay fallen with a severed hand, blood still spreading red on the sword blade. The last breath seemed to have faded away. A bloodied arm reached out in despair, tightly gripping the black sword glowing with a purple aura, a symbol of survival and desire. An inner voice echoed in the darkness, "I would not have come all the way here," like an oath before the abyss of life and death. The main character stepped out of the shadows, light shining on his battle-worn body. He had endured everything just to survive and move forward. The final round, round 20, had begun. Majestic dragon-armored golems appeared simultaneously, shining like war gods guarding the last gate. They stood close together like a living wall. There was no doubt the golems were the last line of defense guarding the exit behind that gate. The young man clenched his fist, dark red energy flaring around his bandaged arm, a familiar sign signaling the battle was about to erupt. He summoned a dark, demonic weapon shaped like a crescent blade. Facing a legion of golems, he knew passing through would not be easy. The eyes of a golem glowed bright gold. It had recognized the intruder, and the deadly battle officially began. The guardian golems simultaneously cast a barrier of light, preparing to confront. Red and gold magical forces clashed in midair, shaking the entire hall. A fierce attack struck down, exploding on the ground. Light flashed as a golem was knocked backward, unable to react in time. The young man charged forward, the red crescent blazing in his hand. The opponent before him was towering like a god, but he showed no fear. His eyes gleamed coldly as he whispered, "Seal of death!" The death mark had just been activated, the real game was now beginning. A red seal with a skull burned atop the golem's head. The strike had landed, and death was near. He unleashed an attack with exploding dark energy, forming a blood-red blade sweeping straight toward the golem like a death whirlwind. Fierce magic spiraled violently, tearing space apart, shattering the golem's defenses with a series of relentless and deadly slashes. The blazing red crescent tore through the white-gold armor, leaving a deep crack on the golem's body, the result of the death mark. He slowly stepped back, eyes never leaving his opponent, silently confirming the absolute effectiveness of the activated seal of death. A fleeting smile appeared on his cold face. He had struck true and successfully triggered the finishing move. Now it was only a matter of time. The spell mark exploded on the giant guardian's forehead, initiating the destructive effect of the seal of death. Dark red energy burned the opponent's body, and the caster silently emphasized, each strike now dealt double damage. One of the guardians was burned to ashes, its body shattered under the brutal enhanced power. All the guardians rushed to attack the young man, and he merely gave a cold smile. Then, he swung the bloodied scythe in his hand, summoning a sweeping skill, a finishing move that would devour everything in its path. The supreme gatekeeper silently appeared, exuding overwhelming aura as the final formation took position. The golem leader's eyes flared in the darkness, as if trying to pierce through the opponent's will. Night completely enveloped everything, every movement frozen in a breathless moment. In absolute darkness, the young man struck a lightning-fast blow, his scythe of light piercing straight through the enemy formation. Brushing away the lingering smoke and dust, he appeared amid fatting light, his red eyes shining with absolute confidence. Seeing the enemy pressing in, his eyes darkened and he quietly gritted his teeth. Damn. Although he had just unleashed a critical strike, he had to face another fierce attack wave from the guardian gods. The dual elements of ice and fire closed in simultaneously, forcing him to dodge. The continuous assault was not only ice, but also accompanied by fire, leaving him no time to breathe. Immediately, he activated his speed boost skill, his eyes shining brightly with determination. Hwaeun rushed forward like a beam of light, determined not to let the enemy surpass his speed. The dark clones attacked simultaneously, surrounding the enemy from all sides. The leader of the light blazed fiercely, his momentum rising like hellfire. A fiery spear descended from above like divine punishment, scorching the entire space. A dazzling light burst forth from the midst of the battle, signaling the opponent's ultimate destructive strike. A massive attack from the celestial soldiers struck down, enveloping the entire battlefield in blinding light. Seemingly engulfed by flames, the young man suddenly appeared inside, calmly facing them with a provocative smile. Before they could react, his eyes flashed. A magical barrier unexpectedly appeared beneath his feet. The magic circle shone brightly. Ice chains rose up, sealing off the entire surrounding space. The young man struggled desperately, but could not escape. The sealing power was closing off every exit. Tiha was frozen within the magical barrier, but his eyes remained clear and resolute, as if waiting for the moment to counterattack. The giant enemy stepped forward, each footstep echoing like a death sentence for the imprisoned Tiha. The massive figure raised its hand to finish him off, the magical spear glowing in the icy air. Everything seemed about to end. Amid the ice, Tiha's red eyes opened coldly. A blazing red symbol appeared on his forehead, a sign that a secret technique was about to be unleashed. Tiha silently chanted, "Moonlight destruction." The air trembled as magical moonlight was about to tear apart the ice prison. The ice wall cracked open in blazing red light as the fierce attack pierced through. The enemy emerged in white and gold armor, holding a blazing red weapon, his aura so intense it shook the space. The shockwave from the slash spread around, crushing the giant ice block where the protagonist had just been sealed. Although he dodged just in time, the protagonist's body was severely injured by the overwhelming force of the recent strike. Realizing that fighting enemies one by one would prolong the battle endlessly, he decided to unleash a finishing move to end it all at once. An enemy tightened his grip on the fiery staff, preparing to cast a holy fire attack. A massive light formation was summoned, and the celestial soldiers simultaneously channeled their magic power. Tiha broke free from the ice, his whole body covered in dark energy. The power of moonlight destruction officially erupted. He glanced at the enemy, murderous intent rising, darkness swirling like red flames ready to engulf everything. Within the blazing red light and swirling magic energy, Tiha unleashed his ultimate destructive strike, tearing through the enemy formation. The remains of the Guardians fell like feathers amid smoke and fire. He stood in the battlefield, cold and resolute, ending everything with a devastating blow. Without hesitation, he advanced straight toward the ancient gate, where secrets were hidden that those Guardians had risked their lives to protect. Faint light from within illuminated his figure. The atmosphere here grew eerily silent, as if leading into a forbidden zone. His red eyes glowed with vigilance. He slightly tilted his head, observing around. A strange premonition arose within him. He murmured softly, "This place carries the breath of an ancient temple, full of mysteries and dangers waiting beyond." Jichen Mail stopped before the mysterious gate, pale light flooding everywhere, making everything around appear hazy. Standing before the magic circle, Jichen Mail wondered whether the gate was a place to enter or if something would come out. With no other choice, Jichen Mail stepped onto the circle of light, accepting to explore what awaited beyond. Golden light flared up, enveloping Jichen Mail's body, transmitting straight into the depths of his consciousness. Amid the swirling magic power, Jichen Mail smiled slightly. This time, could he break the game and end it all? Before the glowing boss gate, the system panel appeared, requiring a minimum of 5 people to open the door. The young man froze when he realized he was the only one standing before the door. The system coldly announced, 5 seconds remaining before execution for failing to meet the requirements. Trapped within the magic circle, he screamed in panic, unable to believe the cruel situation. Rage erupted. He shouted amidst the bright flames, "No one ever mentioned this damn condition." The countdown began. The young man panicked as he realized he could not meet the conditions to enter the boss room. The light holding his body, each second passing like a death sentence hanging before his eyes. He gritted his teeth, his eyes showing helplessness. This death came too fast and was unreasonable. The system coldly declared he was dead. The game ended without a chance to resist. Immediately after, a new notification appeared. He had activated the regression condition. The game was not over. Time began to rewind, returning the main character to before the first round. The regression seal had been used 100 times. The final limit had been reached. All activations were exhausted. The seal would disappear permanently. The 100th regression officially began, the last chance to change the outcome. On New Year's Eve, bright lights illuminated the entire square, and everyone waited for the fateful moment to begin. The crowded crowd joyfully counted down, unaware that a turning point was about to strike. Amid the crowd, a young man wearing a white hoodie stood silently, his body gradually glowing as if torn away from reality. With only 4 seconds left in the countdown, the young man's eyes flashed with anger. He had realized something horrifying. In shock and trembling, he stared at his hands. A clear truth flashed in his mind. "I'm back." Looking at his trembling hands, he realized he had returned to the moment before everything began. He recalled, at that time, he had survived until the 20th round. Amid the countdown crowd, he gently clenched his fist, wishing time could stop. His blue eyes lit up with determination. If this was the last time, he would not waste it. To complete the game, he needed to find 4 more people to join him in the final fateful round. The male lead quietly observed the crowd, a cold gaze revealing his calculations. He was considering who would join him to overcome this last time. In the noisy crowd, a young man with an indifferent expression stood amid the excited cheers, seemingly detached from everyone around him. Careless classmates chatted mockingly, unaware that a deadly game was about to begin. The young man's eyes gradually darkened. Another male student turned to ask his friend about future plans after graduation, while the distant crowd remained absorbed in rumors about a famous actress. The silver-haired student named Youngman was asked about his future plans, but it seemed he himself had not yet found an answer. Hwaeun began observing quietly around, silently considering who could accompany him in the final regression. His gaze stopped at a young man with a cold appearance, standing amid the noisy crowd, indifferent to everything. That young man, Youngman, silently watched his friends chatting and laughing without saying a word. One of them wondered about the future after graduation, while others joked carelessly, pointing at the crowd. When asked about his dream, Youngman just smiled and bluntly declared, "I will become a gangster." Youngman suddenly looked over, suspicious of a familiar gaze emitting an unusual aura. The hoodie-wearing boy lowered his hood, his eyes shining brightly, ready to start something unexpected. The moment their eyes met, Youngman froze. He was completely different from usual. Despite fireworks celebrating the new year, Youngman frowned, sensing a vague threat from across. Friends pulled him back, saying today was New Year's Day, but Youngman's heart could no longer be calm. Youngman gritted his teeth as he looked toward the boy in blue, his eyes angry but restrained. Finally, he chose to ignore it on the first day of the year. Amid the lively New Year's celebrations, the group of students laughed happily, unaware of the approaching abnormality. A voice echoed in the darkness, cold and mocking, astonished that humans still innocently celebrated in ignorance. A strange sound tore through the festive air, followed by a radiant celestial body appearing in the sky, along with mocking laughter at the naive crowd. A majestic celestial being descended, disdainfully looking at humanity like caged monkeys, signaling the start of a cruel game. The crowd looked up at the strange celestial body shining in the sky, mistaking it for a descending angel. The boy in blue, the main character, silently looked up, his cold eyes saying, "She appears again. Even after 99 times, I still hate this moment." The angel with a proud appearance laughed mockingly, hiding her eyes behind a luxurious hat. Her voice echoed mockingly among the crowd, "You worthless humans, you are just obsessed with my appearance." The angel's sharp smile stretched across her face. "It's amusing to see you all bewildered. It seems you can clearly hear my voice." An angry man shouted loudly at the angel, suspecting this was just a cosplay. Doubt spread among the crowd. The male lead turned away, quietly mocking the irrational reaction. To him, it was all regrettable and repetitive. The angel silently observed, her face hidden beneath a hood, carrying a mysterious smile. Emotion surged, the angel's eyes blazing red with anger. She whispered, "Troublesome." In an instant, the man who had been screaming was blown away by a deadly strike. Blood splattered everywhere, silence engulfed the crowd. A young man panicked, looking down at his blood-covered hands. his body trembling uncontrollably as he faced the horrific scene before him. Screams echoed through the crowd. Bodies collapsed, blood stained the tiled floor, and people fled in panic. The short-haired boy gritted his teeth and cursed, his eyes full of terror as he witnessed the inexplicable event. The self-proclaimed angel emitted a terrifying aura, angrily pointing at the crowd for daring to be disrespectful to him. A voice echoed from the sky, threatening those below. If you don't want to end up like him, don't be arrogant or ask questions. The angel flew through the air, disdainfully mocking the crowd below with a haughty voice. Do you understand what's happening? What could lowly humans possibly know? Tiha sighed, watching from behind. A familiar thought crossed his mind. Do I have to hear that explanation again? The angel began announcing the rules. From now on the first day of each month, everyone's souls would be taken to another dimension to participate in a 20-round game. She smiled brightly, but her voice was cold. That is the first thing you must do, complete the assigned tasks. The crowd was stunned, listening silently. The angel continued, if you complete the tasks, you will be rewarded and return to the real world. The crowd was confused by the strange declaration of the self-proclaimed deity. Someone stammered in doubt. Would completing the tasks guarantee survival? The winged figure smiled mockingly, confirming, yes, if you complete the tasks, you might survive, but not all of you. She coldly declared that only half of those who completed the tasks would be kept, causing outrage and fear to spread through the crowd. Many could not believe their ears. Half would be eliminated even after passing the challenges, a steep price for hope of survival. Tiha crossed his arms silently, sighing amid the chaotic crowd, needing no further explanation to understand what was happening. The angel declared the rules. Only those aged 15 to 29 worldwide would participate. Tiha knew that his 20th year meant the start of a hellish loop. An old man laughed like a madman, shouting that he believed he was spared. Tiha looked at him coldly. A young man angrily grabbed the old man's collar, furious at his inappropriate joy amid the deadly atmosphere. A man in black pushed through, shouting loudly, reminding everyone of the recent death as a warning. This was no joke, but a real survival battle. The goddess spread her golden wings, speaking excitedly. Let's. The goddess spread her golden wings, speaking excitedly. Let's. She raised her head and announced a terrifying number, over 1.8 billion participants. Then she smiled wickedly. Explanation done, let's start the game. In an instant, the boy in the green jacket was transported into a blinding white space, where only he could see. Standing in the undefined space, he maintained a calm demeanor, his eyes cold and sharp, revealing no fear. A voice rang out, now you need to reshape your body, prepare for the soul transfer. He looked at his virtual self, ready to face it. Before the soul-reflecting mirror, the young man entered the unique customization phase, where every choice would determine his fate. Without hesitation, he chose himself again, the familiar body of someone who had experienced it all. As the soul began to merge, he whispered the name that had accompanied him through hundreds of rounds, a nickname full of meaning. Black Scythe, the name was called out, followed by a mystical light that took him away from the blinding white space. Then before his eyes opened a completely new world, bright, peaceful, yet hiding countless dangers behind its serene beauty. At the moment the soul fusion completed, his body blazed with dark energy, signaling the rebirth of Black Scythe, the one who had touched the limits of death. A blazing aura enveloped his body. The reincarnation process began, once again restarting the cycle of life and death. Black Scythe appeared amidst the lush green meadow, his new body complete, marking the 100th time entering this game world. From the 12th time until now, that appearance had never changed. It had become the most familiar form to him. While everyone hurried to customize their looks to be the best, Black Scythe silently observed, knowing survival did not depend on appearance. Black Scythe coldly watched the newcomers, silently warning, in this other world the strong hunt the weak. He looked up, sensing a familiar pressure. It was time for that person to appear. Hwang Yangmin appeared confidently, tall and imposing, surrounded by a golden aura that drew everyone's attention. Black Scythe smirked slightly. As expected, he chose a muscular body again. The angel descended midair. pleased as she looked at the crowd with their new, beautiful appearances. The players looked up at the angel with confused eyes. She laughed delightedly at their fearful expressions, declaring that all of Seoul's 1,802,910 people had been summoned. Among the crowd, some doubted that number, believing there couldn't be so many people here. Confusion began to spread. The angel paid little attention, sneering and calling the crowd lowly humans, her contemptuous attitude making the atmosphere heavier. She growled, rebutting the doubt. "You think this is the only place?" She revealed that many other spaces were happening simultaneously, each presided over by an angel. Immediately after, she ordered, "Now think status window." As soon as she finished, a glowing golden panel appeared before the boy, marking the start of the brutal survival game. Ryumin opened his status panel. Despite the nickname Black Scythe, he was still a level 1 player with flat stats and no skills. Looking at the empty status panel, Ryumin could only sigh. This was his 100th beginning. The angel mocked in a sharp voice. Everyone could see their own weakness through the status panel, nothing but trash. A cold voice rang out, "Be strong." Only by surviving 20 rounds would they have a chance to escape this game. The angel smiled slightly, offering a tempting promise. The winner would be granted a wish, no matter what it was. Words of the wish reward stirred the crowd into excitement, their eyes fixed on the angel as if awaiting a miracle. The angel smirked mysteriously, revealing she had prepared a special gift for the first winner. Hwang Yongman was the first to act, opening his item panel with a mix of suspicion and eagerness in his eyes. In the panel appeared a glowing red gem, a random rune that even Yongman did not fully understand its purpose. The angel explained, "This rune can only be used once while still at level 1, and it is the only starting item for everyone." The young man held the glowing stone in his hand, silently chanting use as instructed, activating the first gift of the survival game. A burst of red light flared up. Ryumin's eyes revealed astonishment as he felt a certain power flowing into his body. The angel observed Ryumin's expression and laughed, emphasizing that regardless of the outcome, everyone must accept it, because that is their luck. After everyone received their random rune, the angel gently suggested starting the real part of the game, instantly making the atmosphere tense. A snap echoed, a brilliant golden light poured down, marking the official start of the first survival round. A mission appeared before their eyes. Each person must kill 100 goblins to pass the first round. The first creatures appeared, large, fierce goblins with bloodshot red eyes and weapons ready. The crowd looked at each other in confusion, unable to believe they had just been thrown into a deadly game. The angel coldly reminded them it was too early to rejoice, as this was only the beginning of the nightmare. Light exploded, and a horde of goblins began to be summoned onto the battlefield. The crowd was stunned as they looked up at the sky filled with beams of light. Numbers appeared, and a sense of unease enveloped them. The saint spoke coldly, 10,000 humans versus 50,000 goblins, fight to the death. The goblins screamed and charged, their terrifying roars striking directly at the hearts of those who had never held weapons before. A goblin lunged straight at the panicked group, a shout echoed, "Get out of the way, it's coming." Amid the chaotic crowd, a young man with cold eyes stepped forward, calm as if the storm had nothing to do with him. While the group was still panicking, a mysterious young man calmly advanced toward the charging monster. His blazing red eyes and cold gaze seemed to pierce through the enemy, full of killing intent and absolute confidence. In an instant, he unleashed a stormy kick, striking the goblin's head and sending it flying into the air. Amid thousands of stunned people, the black-haired young man walked without hesitation towards the monster. Fiery red eyes flared in the cold gaze, power summoned in an instant. With a thunderous kick, the young man defeated the goblin in a single strike, leaving the crowd speechless. The goblin's body was thrown forcefully, weapons dropped to the ground, the aftershock of the blow still lingering. The young man picked up the knife, his gaze unchanged, declaring his strength amidst countless stunned looks. Witnessing the extraordinary scene, the young man clearly identified his goal: to attract the attention of the powerful archangel. To make a strong impression, he decided to perform a display, gripping the blade tightly as the goblin horde charged. In the chaotic battlefield, he moved like a whirlwind, taking down many goblins with just a few decisive moves. The crowd was stunned. Exclamations arose. They called him Black Scythe, amazed by his power far beyond ordinary men. But amid the applause, someone wondered, aren't goblins the weakest monsters in the game? A group began to delude themselves about their strength after witnessing Black Scythe's performance. Although knowing they were weaker, they still confidently believed they could defeat the goblins. Just as they were speaking, a goblin suddenly charged at terrifying speed, leaving them no time to react. The illusion was instantly shattered. The goblin delivered a brutal punch, sending one flying backward in utter panic. Completely overwhelmed, the once confident individual now only trembled in fear facing the harsh reality. Chaos spread across the battlefield. Those who had been boastful now screamed and fled, desperately calling for help in panic. Ryuman struck down a goblin from behind, his cold eyes piercing into the spreading chaos of the battlefield. The goblins frenziedly surged forward, tearing apart the defenses. Blood of humans and monsters stained the entire field red. No one dared to think of this as a game anymore. Now, everyone had only one thought in their minds: survival. Fear seized reason, turning all into prey in a bloodthirsty hunt. The survival instinct erupted. Everyone just ran headlong, leaving behind both direction and comrades. Ryuman coldly looked back at the past, admitting the mistakes he had made when first facing the monsters. Only after dying twice did Ryuman realize the harsh truth. There was no escape from this deadly dimension. A helpless girl was engulfed by blazing light, panicking before a power beyond imagination. Another person looked fearfully at the glowing girl, not understanding what was happening, his hands still gripping his weapon tremblingly. He tensely prepared to fight, filled with doubt. Could modern people like them really stand against this world? A modern man, holding a knife for the first time to kill a living creature, strained to finish off the goblin before him with trembling hands. Though stabbed down, the goblin's fiery red eyes full of hatred showed it had not yet surrendered. In a life-or-death moment, he had to overcome instinctive fear to survive the impending blade. From above, the white-clad angel watched the bloody battle with amusement, seeing humans struggle as entertainment. A cold smile appeared on her lips as she acknowledged. Though small, a goblin horde armed with daggers was enough to destroy everything. The archangel spoke, however, with an excited tone, her eyes gleaming with sinister curiosity. From above, the angel intently observed a young man on the battlefield, one radiating a power different from the others. An information board appeared. Black Scythe, goblin slain, 7100, causing the angel to be surprised and exclaim, Black Scythe. She gritted her teeth in frustration as the system blocked all information except the mission progress, unable to verify the true identity of the stranger. Although she disliked having to lead humanity, she admitted, some strange individuals like him surprisingly made the game more interesting. Ryuman's sword swung like a blue lightning flash, slicing through the goblin's head, ending its life in a single breath. The system immediately responded. Ryuman defeated a goblin, gaining experience points, gold, and leveling up. The number of enemies killed reached 75 out of 100. Ryuman raised his head amid the battlefield, his cold gaze and killing aura radiating from his body. He was approaching the mission completion milestone. The goblins screamed as they charged like a pack of wild beasts, all raising their knives directly at Ryuman. At the moment of confrontation, Ryuman unleashed an extremely fast slash, cutting down each one in an instant. His figure spun across the battlefield, each blue slash flashing like the scythe of death sweeping through enemies. With a decisive finishing move, he spun and threw the bloodied sickle, preparing for the next counterattack. A goblin leapt down from above, its fiery red eyes full of hatred aimed straight at Ryuman's head. Unfazed, Ryuman met the strike with a thunderous blow, tearing the enemy apart midair. Standing in the middle of the battlefield, Ryuman glanced at the hesitant ones behind and smiled coldly, planning to just watch forever. Ryuman gripped the bloodied knife tightly, his cold gaze fixed on the goblin horde hesitating and retreating in fear. After a massacre, Ryuman exhaled deeply, sensing a rare moment of peace amid the battlefield. The status window popped up. His name was Ryuman, nicknamed Black Scythe, and he had reached level 4 without realizing it. Without hesitation, Ryuman allocated all his points into agility, the key factor for his fighting style. He understood clearly. Agility not only helped evade attacks but also increased attack speed, the most important aspect at the start. Ryuman held the blood-stained knife tightly, silently closing in as the goblin horde began to falter. Without hesitation, he threw the knife at wind-tearing speed, aiming straight at the center of the enemy formation. Ryuman pointed provocatively, his cold gaze, not going to charge. The goblins howled in fear, but reluctantly advanced with fiery red eyes. Ryuman sighed, his voice low and filled with killing intent. "If you won't come, then I'll come to you." Ryuman swung his knife backward with great force, causing the goblins ahead to panic and flee desperately. Without waiting for the enemy to approach, Ryuman spoke coldly and quietly, his eyes sharp as knives. "I will come find you myself." The swirling blade created a damaging vortex, sweeping away all goblins trying to counterattack. System notifications appeared rapidly. Ryuman officially completed the mission to kill 100 goblins and reached a new level. In the light of mission completion, Ryuman silently stood in the meadow, still gripping his weapon tightly, his gaze fixed on the approaching next round. Ryuman stood amid a blazing golden light, calmly assessing the results after the massacre. For him, the first round was just a warm-up. A system notification appeared, confirming Ryuman, Black Scythe, as the fastest to complete the mission in the entire area in just 10 minutes and 21 seconds. Ryuman slightly smirked, his cold gaze sharp. His goal was not just to pass, but to top the leaderboard. The reward for first place was announced, a ticket to select a rare low-tier weapon. However, Ryuman did not seem very interested. An additional reward for the top player in the entire area, a special treasure chest. Ryuman knew he had taken another step forward, surpassing all other players. Ryuman reached out to select the first reward, a rare weapon selection ticket exclusive to the completed area. Before him appeared 3 choices: a blue-edged longsword, a sharp dagger, and a long spear, all rare low-tier weapons. Though a bit regretful, Ryuman was still satisfied to receive this reward early. Without hesitation, he activated the interface and decisively began claiming the reward. Suddenly recalling something, Ryuman paused, thoughtfully staring at the screen as if considering a new possibility. Ryuman opened the status panel and discovered a hidden title, The Last Regressor, something that had never appeared in the previous 99 attempts. A glowing red rune shard appeared in Ryuman's hand, a rare system reward only granted to the top player. He used the rune shard and immediately received a notification. Regression rune has been activated. The system tried to engrave the rune onto Ryuman's body, but the process was interrupted. The rune mark could not be engraved again. Ryuman understood why. His soul still bore traces of the old rune. If engraved again, he would regress infinitely, a condition the system could not allow. The system confirmed. The residual rune traces in Ryuman's soul indicated this was his 100th regression. Ryuman was stunned. The information about the 100th regression shocked him, as if the truth had never been anticipated. He carefully read the description of the title, Last Time Regressor, a one-time skill allowing full resurrection within 1 minute after death. Ryuman was surprised to realize even the priest's resurrection skill only restored 30% health, while this title restored full vitality. With a satisfied smile, Ryuman clenched his fist, silently affirming he had just obtained something far beyond all expectations, a true treasure. Ryuman smiled faintly, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction as he discovered something beyond imagination. Knowing the true value of the title, Last Time Regressor, Ryuman decided to keep this special ability a secret. He stretched and relaxed after completing the first mission, while thinking of his companion, Yangmin. Yangmin was in a perilous situation, fighting for survival surrounded by enemies. Observing from afar, Ryuman confidently concluded Yangmin would get through this time, just like every time before. Sacred beams of light cut across the sky, marking the transformation of a chaotic world. Above, a divine being clad in white and gold feathers smiled with delight, recognizing the reason why the game had become dull. In the blood-soaked battlefield, she smirked, thinking that the number of players was decreasing to balance with the number of monsters. With her giant wings fluttering, she casually asked if she should make things even more interesting. A blonde girl holding a bloodied body screamed in despair. Was this the entertainment the god desired? The boy who seemed dead suddenly glowed, leaving the girl beside him stunned and speechless. The entire body began to shine, and gradually disappeared before the astonished eyes of the survivors. The blazing golden light pierced the sky, reflecting in the eyes of the knife-wielder, while the angel watched everything from afar. The nightmare was not over. The goblins screamed madly and charged straight down from the sky. Faced with a sudden disaster, fear spread among the survivors, some trembling, others cursing in despair. With a twisted smile, the divine entity granted humanity a gift, reviving 50,000 lives as if injecting money into a game. Cornered, the weak humans screamed in resistance, desperately and angrily charging into the goblin horde. Blood stained the ground as humans fought desperately to kill, screams and blades blending into a brutal symphony of survival. A man turned around and saw a goblin's blade strike like lightning, his eyes flashing with absolute horror. Against the blood-red sky, screams echoed as another man was pinned down by goblins, a knife raised high to end his short life. Only 1,021 out of 5,143 survived. Bloodshed continued amid desperate screams. A man screamed in pain, killing goblins with his bare hands, determined not to fall. Ryumin sat silently in the middle of the battlefield, light enveloping him like a quiet, forbidden zone. A bloodied player pressed his hand against a beam of light, trying to leave the death zone. Right behind him, a goblin coldly finished off another victim. The number of people completing the mission rapidly increased, and the angelic face briefly showed a calculating pleasure. The black-haired boy opened his eyes, his gaze sharp as if awakening to something amid the massacre. Finally, all 5,143 people completed the mission. The beam of light covered the blood-soaked battlefield. The survivors were stunned to find that the goblin horde had vanished without a trace. The angel declared the mission complete, her voice light but cold like a blade that had just ended half the lives. The archangel looked down at the remaining people, coldly declaring that they must die. That was the rule of this game. Those not chosen were terrified beyond measure. No one expected that passing the challenge was still not enough to survive. A desperate man begged, missing only 1 point to live. But the fateful light had already begun to surround them. Desperate screams rang out as a woman realized she was not among the survivors. The golden light separated them from life. The archangel smirked coldly, mocking the survivors, though hurt and afraid they had passed the first round. Now it was time to return. The female angel announced the end of the first round with a vague smile, congratulating the survivors and emphasizing that the next round would be even more brutal. The results were announced. Ryumin, with the title Black Scythe, topped all regions with the shortest completion time. Ryumin received his deserved rewards: a rare weapon selection ticket, a special gift box, and 1,000 gold, which would soon be transferred to his item storage. The system notified that Ryumin had received 1,000 gold after completing the first mission. However, he could only use this gold upon reaching level 10. Ryumin's cold gaze made the surrounding survivors wary. They began to realize the true identity of the leaderboard's top player. Ryumin smiled slightly, thinking to himself, now everyone knew he was the leader. Confidence clearly showed on his proud face. The angel observed Ryumin from afar, unable to hide her surprise. Someone from her region leading all others was truly impressive. She called out Black Scythe, asking him to confirm. Ryumin replied briefly and decisively, yes. The angel could not hide her curiosity. She wondered why Ryumin was so strong. Could it be that he had received a special reward? Suddenly she paused for a moment. A troubling thought flashed through her mind, causing her to break out in a cold sweat. Something was wrong. Ryumin smiled meaningfully and asked the angel in return, can't you see my rune from the scoreboard? Cornered, the angel stammered to cover up. Of course I know, I was just asking. Ryumin glanced lightly, thinking silently, not so sure. Then he called out loudly, hey, angel. The angel was startled when she heard Ryumin speak, surprised by his attitude. Ryumin gave an inscrutable smile and quietly asked, can I ask you a favor? Amid the brilliant golden light, Ryumin looked up at the angel and frankly complained. The reward for first place was too stingy. His words drew all eyes to him. Some were shocked, others confused, and some simply stunned. The surrounding survivors could not hide their horror. They gaped in disbelief that Ryumin dared to say such a thing. The angel shed her calm demeanor. Her eyes blazed with anger and her cold voice rang out. What did you just say? Facing the overwhelming killing intent, Ryumin still smiled calmly, arms crossed. I want a more worthy reward. Black Scythe raised his head and bluntly criticized the first-place reward as too stingy, leaving everyone around stunned. Both survivors and strong players were shocked by the arrogant declaration, while the angel above began to rage. The angel's sharp voice echoed, her fiery eyes filled with murderous intent as she questioned in disbelief. Black Scythe emphasized once again that he wanted a better reward, showing absolute confidence before everyone's astonished gaze. The angel ground her words fiercely in her heart, her anger flaring as she prepared to punish the insolent who dared demand from a being like herself. The angel gritted her teeth in fury, realizing her lethal power had been exhausted. Now she could not kill him even if she wanted to. In her anger, a spark of realization flashed in the angel's eyes. She suddenly conceived a sinister idea. The angel's expression shifted from anger to cunning, a cruel smile signaling a new plan had formed. Looking down at Ryumin, the angel smirked and asked back, you want a better reward? The plot began to reveal itself. Normally, such an arrogant request would be immediately rejected. But this time, the angel stepped down proactively, full of implication. The angel changed her attitude, agreeing to consider Ryuman's request. She decided to discuss it privately with him, ignoring the astonished looks of the others. Ryuman left the circle of light, leaving everyone stunned. They were all skeptical, unable to understand how a negotiation with the angel could succeed. Another man tried to demand a higher reward, but the angel coldly asserted that only the first-place holder like Black Scythe had that right. People whispered with envy, curious about the reward Ryuman was about to receive. Some could not hide their desire. Ryuman looked back, his eyes sharp and exuding calmness and firmness. He was unlike any other player still standing there. One of the survivors stared wide-eyed in confusion, not understanding what was happening. Black Scythe turned around, smiling coldly as he sensed the envious gaze from behind. He followed the angel silently as they both left the circle of light and moved deeper into the quiet forest. The angel stopped, angrily turning her head, her voice full of irritation over the distance. Black Scythe responded calmly. Though outwardly calm, the angel secretly cursed humans as greedy fools who only knew how to demand when scolded. The angel was bitter from being provoked but had no authority to change the reward. Even if she did, she would never grant him anything better. A sinister smile spread across the angel's lips. She decided to teach that greedy human a bloody lesson. With cold eyes fixed ahead, the angel silently calculated. Once he crossed that line, she would kill him immediately. Despite her murderous intent, the angel was fully aware of the consequences. Killing a player out of personal grudge would disrupt the system and lead to punishment from superiors. Therefore, she quietly withdrew from the crowd's sight, determined to eliminate him without leaving any witnesses. The angel smiled wickedly, her anger surging inside. Stupid humans, if only they were obedient, things wouldn't have come to this. She pretended to be gentle as she turned back, sweetly asking Ryuman, "What reward do you want?" Before she finished, Ryuman threw a fist full of killing intent at the angel with a cold glare. Ryuman's fist struck the angel's face directly, blood splattering everywhere, the speed too fast for her to react. The punch sent the angel flying backward, her body spinning in midair, her face stunned by surprise. The angel screamed in rage and pain, her wings tangled, her whole body staggering in midair, completely losing her original composure. The angel screamed in pain, her body thrown through the air, unable to defend herself in time. Collapsing at the feet of the mortal, she moaned in humiliation, while he silently stood and watched. She looked up, eyes full of hatred. Golden blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, a shame she could not accept. Rage exploded. She screamed, preparing to strike back in a frenzy. A fierce swirling energy erupted around her. Wings drooped, clothes torn, she poured all her fury into the upcoming attack. The angel was shocked to realize Ryuman had vanished from sight, unable to react in time to a sudden strike from behind. The second punch landed powerfully, piercing through the pure white feathers, leaving the opponent completely stunned. Horror was clear on the angel's face, as she realized she had completely lost control of the situation. Ryuman gripped his opponent tightly, unleashing a furious flurry of blows, causing the once arrogant foe to panic and beg. A scream tore through the air, wings torn apart in Ryuman's rage, his eyes cold as death. The white-clad angel screamed in pain, golden blood gushing out, eyes panicked amidst the sunlit forest. Ryuman coldly grabbed the enemy's wing, breaking it without hesitation, blood splattering through the air. "Don't overdo it," he said indifferently, his eyes bloodshot amid falling feathers. Once again, Ryuman slammed his opponent to the ground, their screams echoing throughout the forest. A seal exploded in Ryuman's hand as he coldly declared, "Now you can't run anymore." The angel knelt, trembling in pain as golden light enveloped her injured wing. The cold young man stepped forward, smiling mockingly. "You were probably going to ask me that," while laughing like a madman, right? The angel shouted angrily, "Are you crazy, human? What are you talking about?" The young man exposed the opponent's wing, coldly saying, "You hit a dagger to kill me, didn't you?" The angel was speechless. He silently pulled the knife from the wing. "I knew it." The angel weakly protested in horror. I kill you." The young man smiled coldly, exposing Briel's evasions. He said, "I just needed to look at your face to know." Briel paled, stunned to hear her name called. A strange confusion arose within her. Briel avoided the question, trying to stay calm, but activated the system panel with her hand. A bright golden light spread. She screamed in panic, seeing the weapon in his hand. "Why draw your weapon?" But he only sneered. "Don't you realize?" Briel shouted angrily, threatening to blow his head off with a snap of her fingers. But his gaze remained cold and challenging. The young man gripped the knife handle tightly, smiling coldly, declaring, "You no longer have that skill." Briel's eyes widened in horror as she realized the truth. Briel screamed in despair, threatening that the other angels would not forgive him. The young man responded calmly, accusing the angels of selfishness, saying no one cared whether she lived or died. When Brielle begged, he coldly concluded, "Killing you will be beneficial." He also knew the repatriation laws, leaving her frozen with fear. With the blade at her throat, Brielle panicked and begged, promising to reveal all secrets in exchange for survival. But Ryuman's cold eyes gave a decisive answer. Not necessary. Ryuman coldly declared he had extracted enough information from her pain, about her target, lifestyle, and true role as merely a pawn leading the way. The words left Brielle speechless, eyes wide in disbelief. A sudden attack was launched. The angel was stunned, unable to react, only able to utter in surprise. When the angel's body was pierced by a fatal blow, golden blood splattered in the air. She moaned in pain. Q. The player stepped forward, withdrawing his hand from the collapsing angel's body. The battle ended in silence, leaving a quiet scene amid the green forest. The system displayed a notification. "You have defeated an angel." The angel was subdued, collapsing with half-closed eyes. Continuing the series of achievement notifications. "You are the first player to kill an angel. You received the title First Angel Slayer. You received Angel's Blood and Engraved Gem, Massacre, as unique rewards." Engraved Gem, Massacre glowed in the player's hand, then automatically merged into his body according to the system's announcement. A powerful aura spread around him. The system displayed the title's effect. First Angel Slayer, all stats are doubled when fighting divine creatures. The player pondered. "I knew about this reward since my 13th reincarnation, and I have prepared to claim it." He smiled cunningly. "The angels will definitely be shocked to know I possess an engraved gem." The protagonist's fiery red eyes shone with determination. He whispered, and in his hand was a strange vial of light, the most important reward. He said, "The biggest reason to kill an angel is Angel's Blood, a unique item. It allows the first person to kill an angel to change class to Reaper, provided they reach level 10 or higher. Only the Angel Slayer deserves this power. All players can choose a class upon reaching level 10. There are a total of 30 different classes, and class changes are usually simple. Usually class change items can be found in hunts or through easy conditions. But there are rare exceptions, like the Angel's Blood itself. Some class change items only appear when extremely rare conditions are met, and only for a single person. Among them, Angel's Blood is the clearest example. Classes from these special items are completely superior. Added stats, exclusive skills, class change, engraved gems, all perfect, far beyond the normal system. The protagonist opened his virtual inventory before him. Although he hadn't passed the final round, he returned with clear determination. "Still, I can come back," he thought silently. "Then this time I will rank first in all areas." A reward interface appeared, allowing him to choose between triple EXP, gold, or information about round 2. With determined eyes, he set his goal. The most important thing now is to reach level 10 to be able to change class. The next step was very clear to him. Without hesitation, he chose the triple EXP reward, a reward that only activates in round 2 and will apply automatically at the start. The protagonist looked at the system panel thinking, "After all, this is the last time. I have no way back." He looked at the glowing angel corpse fatting in the golden light, whispering, "No matter what, I have to become stronger." The divine light from the angel's body continued to spread, signaling an end, and also the beginning of a new era. The system announced the end of round 1. In the protagonist area, only over 5,000 survivors remained. Round 2 will start on February 1st. Souls will soon return to their bodies. A strange man startled awake in the night, struggling to stand after a sudden fall. He exclaimed, "Hugh!" Looking around, he recognized where he was standing, Bosingak in the heart of modern Seoul. What is happening? Confusion was clear on his face. Everything was too real, yet unlike everyday reality. He muttered, "What happened?" Throughout the square, people were waking up in a daze. Everyone talked about a strange dream, wondering if they had all just been knocked unconscious. The strange man checked his phone, 5:20 a.m. Oddly enough, that was also the time the dream lasted. The coincidence made him even more confused. People gradually woke up in pain, some holding their heads, others exhausted, with no one understanding what had just happened. Yangmin, who had just opened his eyes, approached his friend. His friend was stunned to learn he had fainted like everyone else around. The group confirmed everyone had the same strange experience, a vivid dream as real as life. They began sharing what they had dreamed about. Yangmin was thoughtful. While everyone was confused, he sensed something was wrong. To him it was too real. People suspected they had just returned from the dead. They murmured about battles and monsters. Yangmin was certain it was not a dream. After waking at Bosingak, people began doubting the recent experience. One of them exclaimed in shock upon realizing everything they had gone through. The first round, the goblins, was real. Yangmin and others found someone still unconscious. The purple-haired boy asked worriedly, while Yangmin closely monitored the situation. The purple-haired boy bent down to shake his friend lying on the ground, his voice trembling with fear as the friend remained unresponsive. The friend's face, neatly groomed hair, tidy uniform, was motionless and unresponsive. Light shone on his pale face, intensifying the tense atmosphere. Upon closer inspection, the purple-haired boy gasped, "What?" His expression showed clear horror as he realized something was very wrong. The purple-haired boy placed his hand on the unconscious youth's forehead, his hand trembling uncontrollably, sensing something ominous. He frantically confirmed the other was no longer breathing and had no pulse. Yangmin and the remaining friend were also shocked. Yangmin widened his eyes, whispering in astonishment, "Is he dead?" The purple-haired boy sobbed, unable to believe the truth. They suspected the other had not survived the deadly round. The bald friend glanced around anxiously, wondering, if so, what about all those still unconscious? Were those motionless bodies all corpses? Yangmin was stunned and dizzy, realizing only half of them survived. And would the next round be just as brutal? Just as terror seemed to peak, Yangmin's eyes suddenly went wild, his face twisted into a crooked smile. Inside him, a strange feeling surged, extreme excitement. Yangmin broke into an excited smile, his eyes wide and sparkling as if enchanted by a newly revealed truth. He felt this was a fair world, where there was no longer a distinction between rich and poor, and everyone had to fight to survive. The heavy atmosphere was broken by the shout of the buzz-cut boy wearing a black jacket with white stripes. He loudly told everyone to stay calm, emphasizing that just surviving was enough. No need to panic so much. The red-brown-haired boy, sitting on the ground holding his head, choked back tears and argued. He felt it was unfair to face death before he had a chance to enjoy life. The buzz-cut boy coldly replied, "Everyone is the same." The buzz-cut boy continued to reassure his friend, reasoning that everyone had fallen into this situation, not just anyone in particular. But inside, the red-brown-haired boy still could not accept this harsh reality, muttering to the person opposite him as a madman. The buzz-cut boy spoke in a low voice about Yangmin's past, once a wanderer living without purpose, so now if he died, there was nothing to regret. However, Yangmin himself confessed that he still had many things he wanted to do in life. The boy wearing the padded jacket, Yangmin, recalled a person he was sure he had seen before losing consciousness. The faint memory evoked the image of a black-haired boy with blue eyes and a sharp gaze, someone who seemed to have disappeared. Yangmin sneered with contempt, thinking that such a weak person could not survive the first round. He mocked without any mercy. Suddenly, Yangmin's eyes jerked in surprise. He sensed something strange and turned his head reflexively. A stunned look appeared on Yangmin's face when he saw a boy wearing silver armor quietly walking through the crowd. This unexpected appearance made him exclaim in surprise. Yangmin observed more closely. He couldn't help but wonder about the one in silver armor. Who is that? Why is he dressed so strangely? But then his doubt immediately turned into astonishment. No way. Yangmin quietly called out the words, "status window," in his mind, his eyes serious as if testing something full of skepticism and anticipation. Immediately after, a status window appeared before Yangmin. On the screen appeared personal information, level 5, basic stats, and title all blank. He was amazed to see that everything really existed. Yangmin went silent, muttering to confirm the truth. The status window has opened. This was not a dream, but a mysterious real mechanism. Yangmin's two friends, the red-brown-haired boy and the buzz-cut boy, also tried calling status window and were stunned when the window actually appeared. They couldn't believe their eyes. Around them, many others also began looking up at the sky, interacting with their personal status windows. People started to speculate. Could the stats and items inside really be used in the real world? Hwang Yangmin bent down to pick up a small stone fallen on the ground, his eyes thoughtful and full of doubt. Without hesitation, Yangmin clenched the stone tightly and crushed it easily. An unusual strength clearly manifested. Yangmin opened his hand, surprised to see the stone fragments dissolve like sand flowing through his fingers. Yangmin's face lit up, unable to hide his excitement. He smiled and exclaimed in amazement, "Amazing!" The scene shifted to television. A serious announcer reported, "This morning, about 10,000 people lost consciousness at the bell-ringing ceremony in the square opposite Bosingak, Jongro. She invited viewers to watch footage from the scene. A strange entity shaped like a woman with angel wings appeared hovering above Bosingac Square, astonishing the crowd below. Immediately after, when a woman pointed and said something about the angelic entity, she exploded instantly in the crowd, causing chaos. The mysterious angel reached out toward the recently murdered citizen, smiling mysteriously, causing those around to begin feeling uneasy. In just an instant, all approximately 10,000 people present at the ceremony simultaneously collapsed unconscious right on the street, creating an unprecedented scene of chaos. A news anchor confirmed all the victims were between the ages of 15 and 29. The frightening thing is that this strange event did not only happen in South Korea, but also simultaneously appeared in 128 other countries around the world. Public opinion on the internet exploded after the strange news. Most comments mocked and denied the authenticity of the information, claiming it was just a joke or deliberately fake news. While all of social media was in turmoil, the black-haired boy with sharp eyes who had appeared in Youngmin's memories calmly looked at his phone and quietly said, "It's finally begun." On television, the news continued to update about the tragedy at the square. Around 5:20 a.m., half of those who had fainted regained consciousness, while the other half were confirmed dead on the spot. A celebrity was found dead at the scene. For the first time in history, 11% of the nation's population perished. The boy in the blue jacket continued to follow the news. Although the information was shocking, his eyes remained calm. He knew that everything was just beginning. The real problem was still ahead. The television revealed a shocking truth. The survivors were called players, and their abilities from the strange world truly existed in real life. The blue-jacketed boy's eyes flashed coldly. He had known this beforehand. He assessed that currently no one possessed stats that were too high, so the impact was not significant yet. But when the players leveled up, everything would change. A vague image of the future appeared in his mind, a player in the form of a dark-armored warrior, wielding an energy sword like a living weapon. He worried that if these human weapons were allowed to exist freely, nothing could control them, not even the military or modern technology. He continued walking through the dark night, determined not to stand by and watch the world fall into chaos. He understood clearly that if he didn't act, Earth would be destroyed before the 20th trial round took place. His eyes were resolute. He affirmed that there was only one way to prevent disaster: control all the players. With a cold gaze, he concluded clearly, to control the players, one must use absolute overwhelming power. The blue-eyed boy, the main character whose identity is still unclear, coldly observed the situation. He affirmed that he had already identified some potential candidates and had even drawn up plans to recruit them as allies. However, he did not act hastily. In the long sunset on the deserted street, he quietly walked on, knowing that the right time had not yet come. He thought to himself, "For now, there is a more important task that needs to be completed first." A decisive decision was made as his figure gradually disappeared into the silent cityscape. Returning to the small house where he lived, the main character entered with a cautious demeanor. The dimly lit, tidy room evoked a sense of preparation for something big to come. Suddenly he stopped. A strange sound or sensation caught his attention, making him turn his head to look behind, a sharp and suspicious look appearing on his calm face. The main character returned home and quietly walked into the kitchen. On the counter, a cup of instant noodles awaited, an unchanging dinner. He sighed, accepting his solitary reality. He quietly opened the door to his room, weak light casting over his calm yet calculating face. A heavy feeling crept through each step. He saw his younger brother sleeping soundly under the moonlight. Silence enveloped the space, with only the gentle sound of wind drifting in through the window frame. The main character slightly curled his lips into a smile. Even though he hadn't come home all night, his brother still slept soundly, which made him both amused and relieved. The boy's name is Ryu-won, the main character's biological younger brother, currently in his final year of middle school. Despite his young age, Ryu-won is his greatest concern and motivation to keep moving forward in the chaotic world ahead. The small family was once as normal as any other. A photo preserved a happy moment of the whole family, parents with two brothers, Ryu-won and the main character older brother. Everything changed after the car accident that took their parents' lives. Since then, the lives of the two brothers took a completely different path, full of emptiness and responsibility. The biggest change was that the main character became the sole guardian of Ryu-won, who was still in middle school at the time. That pressure was not allowed to be shown, but was always present. When he gently touched the wound on Ryu-won's arm, Memories and emotions surged. A simple action, but containing deep care and responsibility from the older brother. Ryuwon suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze still drowsy after sleep, he softly called, a beginning for a conversation between the two brothers where unspoken things might be revealed. The main character woke his younger brother. "Wonnie, get up." Ryuwon groggily opened his eyes, surprised, and asked, "Hi, young." It seemed he did not understand what was happening. Still sleepy, Ryuwon was suddenly thrown a blanket straight into his face. He startled in panic, fully awake, because of the unexpected action from his older brother. The main character did not waste time, handing clothes to his brother while saying, "There's no more time to sleep." Ryuwon was confused. "What's going on?" He was asked to change quickly to leave immediately. Still not understanding the situation, Ryuwon asked again, "Where are we going? If it's to watch the sunrise, I'd rather sleep a little longer." Before Ryuwon finished speaking, the morning light flooded the room, as if a great event was about to begin, far beyond the imagination of the yawning teenager. Ryuwon looked at his older brother, confused. He did not understand what was happening, but his brother's serious expression made him silent. The main character, the older brother, looked straight at his younger brother, firmly demanding, "Listen to me. This is no longer a time to sleep peacefully." The older brother continued, "The world is in chaos and the time for peace is over." His eyes revealed worry and urgency. Ryuwon, still not understanding, asked again, "You went to see the bell-ringing ceremony, right? Did something happen?" His brother did not answer immediately, only said, "I'll tell you outside." The two brothers walked side by side on the quiet early morning street. The cold wind blew through, and Ryuwon's face showed worry, while his brother remained firm, ready to face the coming future. On the way, Ryuwon observed his brother's serious expression with undeniable concern. In his mind echoed a confused question. What could make him so serious? After a long silence, the main character, the older brother, spoke. He asked Ryuwon directly a question that stunned him. "Wonnie, do you really not know what's happening out there?" Ryuwon followed behind, both surprised and worried. He stammered, asking again, "Why are you so serious? Did something happen while I was sleeping?" His brother did not answer immediately, but said, "Check the search trends." Ryuwon immediately opened his phone. His face changed to an expression of shock, sweat dripping, eyes fixed on the screen. He whispered in disbelief, "What is going on?" His brother replied coldly, "An angel appeared, taking people into another world. More precisely, only their souls were pulled away." Ryuwon was stunned to learn that his older brother, the main character, had also been drawn into another world. He panicked, asking again, and heard his brother confirm, along with a horrifying revelation. He survived after killing 100 goblins. Ryuwon jumped up, anxiously asking rapidly, fearing his brother might be injured. But the main character calmly asked him not to worry about him anymore. Ryuwon exclaimed emotionally, "How can I not worry?" His eyes were full of concern and deep affection for his brother. A flashback appeared, the boy Ryuwon wearing mourning clothes, his eyes red and face soaked with tears, bowing his head and crying from the pain of losing loved ones. In that memory, a man in a black military uniform turned his back to Ryuwon. He spoke to him in a calm but firm voice. "Of course, I know that you have inner strength stronger than anyone else." Han quietly walked toward the morning light, carrying a deep determination to become a solid support in place of the lost parents. Wonnie worriedly thought that inner strength could not help his older brother survive in a brutal world like Otherworld. He doubted Han's weak physical ability. Han turned back, smiled lightly, and said, "I know what you're thinking." His confidence surprised Wonnie. Han explained that Otherworld operates on a stats system like a game, where physicality is no longer a limit. Thanks to that, Han was able to fight, even though he was not strong before. Han hinted, "You'll understand later. Follow me if you want to know clearly." Wonnie was both curious and worried, but still walked beside the brother he always trusted. Wonnie suddenly stopped, shouting loudly in confusion and anger. He refused to take another step unless Yangmin clearly said where they were going. With a determined look and a choked voice, Wonnie placed his hand on his chest, demanding to know everything before continuing. Confusion and worry clearly shone in every gesture. A close-up of Wonnie's trembling hand placed on an old wound showed he still carried unhealed pain, both physical and mental. Wonnie's blue eyes opened wide, shining with astonishment and tension. It seemed he was sensing something very serious from Yangmin. The name Bang Tiju was uttered by Yangmin like a dagger piercing Wonnie's mind. He was stunned, his mouth moving but unable to speak. Yangmin turned his head back, his eyes cold and resolute. He bluntly declared they were on their way to the lair of Bang Tiju, the bully who had tormented Wonnie for so long. The confrontation was about to begin.